Hi traders, Mandy here from High Performance Trading. Oh, on Saturday, I worked with a trader who saw this beautiful setup on the ES and he didn't take it. And he was so frustrated because, that was about $1,500 trade. And going into the weekend, having missed this beautiful setup, it just really, ate him up. So we had a session, and what happened was he saw the market coming up at the opening, and then he saw a retest of this candle, right? This blue candle here. And that is actually his trade setup. That's the only way he trades, right? He's like a one-trick pony and he does really well with it. That's all you need, right? You just need one strategy. But, so you can see his entry was the green bar here, and the market came down, and so he wasn't sure, and then it shot up. But because he had hesitated, it shot up without him and yeah, left him behind in the dust while the trade went to the moon. And we all have experienced it, right? So it's Trader Murphy's Law, as I say, but we want to learn how to improve on this behavior and want to learn how to take our trades decisively, even in the face of uncertainty when the setup is given. Now, there are three types of hesitation. The first type of hesitation is where we, like I explained here, we see an amazing trade setup. We don't take it because we're overthinking it. Then the second type of hesitation is when we are in a profitable trade and we don't take our profits, even though it took our profit target. And then, the monkeys come in and they just start chattering with us and whoops, the trade is back to break even or even back in a loss, and we have missed our exit. And I was working with a trader yesterday who had exactly that experience. Her trade went to profit target, was a $2,500 profit. The thought came in, ooh, I think it could go a little further, even though it had hit her profit target, right, which was a 1.61% target, and turned around, and then she thought, oh, maybe it's going to do one more push to the upside so that I can get out at the price that I actually had. That's what we call an anchoring bias, right? So you can read all of that in Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow. And you can also read about it or listen to it on a video that I made in the Super Trader series, the free videos on my website. So yeah, that's another scenario. And the third scenario, of course, is hesitating on taking your losses, right? Which is the most common one according to broker statistics. But the thing is, we don't really see what the statistics are on hesitating to take a trade entry because, yeah, it wouldn't show in the broker statistics. And so I think judging by the amount of people who complain to me about this behavior, it is also not quite so substantial. Now, today I want to talk to you about how to escape the overthinking trap, because this is what hesitating essentially is, overthinking. And it is because it's not really measurable in statistics unless we keep track of it. It's something that's actually not talked about too much. And so I think it is really important to start raising this topic as well, because it could be an area of improvement for everyone. Now, it creates as much stress and frustration as, letting losses run or cutting profits short, so going on tilt or revenge trading. It's not just annoying, it's actually damaging your trading career if you're doing that. If you're not executing trades, you're not making profits. No trades, no profits, no trading career. So let's have a look at the reasons why we might tend to overthink. And one reason is that, for example, you have always been an overthinker. Right? So you find it difficult to be decisive in any area of life, like which job to choose, what kind of clothes to choose, what kind of food to choose when you go to the restaurant, right? So all these experiences of indecisiveness is a common pattern, which usually shows that the person who has this pattern, they simply haven't learned how to make good decisions. They simply haven't learned any mental models of decision making. It's just a skill, nothing else. And so I would recommend, for example, Charlie Munger's book, Mental Models. That would be a good start. and really thinking about, so how can I have a strategy on, let's use the restaurant example, how to choose a meal in the restaurant. Right? So that would be a really good start. Another reason could be that you had a big traumatic trading loss and now you're afraid because you have lost all your self-confidence. Right? It happened to all of us. Right? It's how quickly you get back from this shaken self-belief and how you rebuild yourself. That's what counts in trading. And not just in trading, in sports, everywhere, right? You don't trust your trading strategy because maybe you had a series of losses. Maybe your strategy is not suited for this market and you're not quite sure about it. Or you have limited financial resources with a small trading account. So every loss that you have actually has quite an impact on your account, on your capital. So of course, when you have this kind of scarcity that you're dealing with, it does make it much, much harder. Right? So, and another reason which I see a lot is that during our formative years, so when we grew up, and yes, no one escaped childhood unscathed, there was an experience of where making a wrong decision, for example, was punished or was ridiculed or was shamed, or there was one situation where you made a decision, you made a choice, and it was the absolute wrong choice. Then you had to deal with the consequences, which were painful, unpleasant, and so now, of course, we are back to the lack of self-trust, right? So it could also be that you have observed one of your loved ones. I see that a lot with children who grew up with parents who were successful, then made a bad decision and lost everything. They also have this kind of experience of hesitating on making decisions, right? So that's again completely normal. And at the same time, it can be worked with and healed. So I have created like a 7-step protocol to help you to begin to stop overthinking, right? So please remember there is no quick fix. For some, it goes quicker, for others, takes a little longer. And depending on what the core reason is for the hesitation, you have to keep practicing this. It's like going to the gym. You don't get a six-pack in a week. You don't lose 50 kilos or even 20 kilos in a month. Well, if you do, it's really unhealthy. We know that it's not sustainable either. But you get the gist, right? So keep pushing, keep do the sit-ups, keep doing the push-ups, and don't give up on yourself. So overthinking mostly happens, generally speaking, to traders who have a chaotic mindset, who are stuck in thoughts that are messy and unstructured, especially when life becomes uncertain. They are stuck in a thinking loop that goes in circles like a merry-go-round and never gets an exit to find a conclusion. The thoughts repeat themselves over and over and over again without resolution, right? So that's when we know we are in a thinking loop. And typically this indecision lingers until the opportunity is gone and the trader doesn't have to make a decision anymore, or they decide not to make a decision, right? That's the same thing. Leaving them behind in the dust again could have yielded a good profit or could have had a loss, right? But that doesn't matter. We need to, in this trading world, we need to learn to deal with the uncertainties. So you see, just like the brain doesn't distinguish between a real lemon, just talking about lemon, I get savory. It doesn't distinguish between the thought of a lemon and a real lemon. There's a physical saliva response. The brain can't distinguish between a real danger and anxious thoughts unless we help the brain. So when you think fearful thoughts, which is your mind, your body also responds as if it were under threat, right? So I was working with a trader, he would get like heart palpitations. He was wearing an Apple Watch and really checking of what is going on in his physical response. And it's flooding with stress hormones. And the mind is like, what if the trade is going to be a loss? And then the body reacts accordingly with paralyzing the finger that has to press the mouse button to either get into the trade or to get out of the trade. And this is really the overthinking that comes because the trader is trying to find certainty in that moment of uncertainty. And that doesn't work, does it? But that's all the mind knows to do. And so we have to teach the mind to do something different. That's something that actually helps to find a solution. So the second step is identify your disempowering, your negative self-talk. Now, the reason why we call it negative self-talk is and positive self-talk is because in our cells there's actually positive and negative charge. That's a whole other video on its own. But I like to use the word disempowering self-talk because that's really what it is about for me. I don't think there's negative self-talk as such because we can use negative self-talk to motivate ourselves as well. That's how I have shared my trader who hates taking loss. One could say that's negative self-talk, but because he hates taking losses so much, he takes them quick. He gets them out of his life. He doesn't want to hang on to this negative energy. And by the way, Linda Rushke, she always says, I don't want to take this negative energy into my next trading day. So listen to your internal voice, listen to the mind chatter. Is it self-destructive for you? Because there's also traders who hate taking a loss, and that's the very thing that stops them, right? So it's the opposite of motivating. Write down how you talk to yourself in the moment of hesitation. And also write down how you talk to yourself after you have missed the trade and start keeping a journal where you then start, and I would suggest something like an Excel spreadsheet where you write down the phrases that you say to yourself and then you keep giving it a tick every time you have the same thought. You will be surprised. You will have the same thought over and over and over again. I don't want to have another loss. What if I get it wrong? What if it doesn't work? And after having missed the trade, it's something like, I wish I had taken that trade. I'm such an idiot. Now I missed out on all these profits. I could have done these beautiful things. You really messed up again. Why can't I be disciplined? What's wrong with me? Will I ever make it? I'm an intergalactic idiot, one of my my traders used to say. And yeah, sounds familiar. Can you see how your internal dialogue is worrisome and judgmental and how it really can sabotage your ability to make good decisions? Now, really be careful. I'm not talking about just talking positively to yourself because that doesn't work either. That's either also self-destructive because we have to be um, realistic, right? We have to look at what is working, what is not working, what is destructive, and what is supportive. That's what it is, right? So we want to balance the talk. We want to look at both sides of our trading story. What are the risks? How can I protect my downside? How do I deal with potential mistakes? What are the rewards? How do I manage a profitable trade? Then these are the thoughts that we want to cultivate, not the I'm such an idiot. Now, here's why. A cluttered mind latches onto the fear of painful experiences, right? Because this is really what it is about. When we hesitate taking action, we are afraid of a painful experience. That's all it is, right? So, sorry guys, 30 degrees. It's pretty hot up here. So these are the experiences that we want to avoid. And our mind naturally latches on to wanting to have happy experiences, the ones that we want. And you might celebrate a successful trade for a moment before moving on. But who here has had a great trade and then had a loss and maybe didn't work so well and then was ruminating about that loss, for an hour or maybe even all night, couldn't sleep, right? So things that really affect our sleep and our well-being and our mental health, that can just be one trade where we forget all the good things that we've made. So what we then do is we identify completely with our thoughts. We are once again trapped in this mental chatter. There is a lot of self-judgment. There is a lot of mental noise, a lot of monkeys having an opinion in our mind, and the need to analyze everything. right? So, and that's making it worse, right? So we are so in an emotional upheaval in that moment. That's why it's important. The moment you write these thoughts down, you start sorting them and you start distancing yourself from them. And so step 3 is the power of awareness. Now, Eckhart Tolle, he had this really profound realization at age 29, and he thought, I cannot live with myself any longer. And then he's like, who is the I that I can't live with myself any longer? And then, years later, we know The Power of Now and all his books that he wrote, and quite interesting. But that was the moment of breakthrough for him when he started to separate and to really listen to the words that he used. Like, who is the I? Is that really me? Who is that? Neuroscientists, they call this a cognitive diffusion. That's the ability to detach from thought and gain clarity. The state of your mind influences your trading results. So it's really important to detach yourself from the monkeys in your mind and gain clarity, right? It doesn't matter what they're saying, you just keep focusing on your job. And that's practice, that's a skill, nothing else. Everybody can do that. For some, it takes longer, for some, it gets faster. So if you stay stuck in negativity, in disempowering self-judgments, thoughts that keep you stuck in a cluttered mindset, you will keep struggling with these challenges because your thoughts, they create the emotions. Now, there's also a school of thought that emotions are faster than thoughts because they can be measured really, really quickly, but it doesn't matter for us. One creates the other, right? That influences our behaviors. That's what really matters. And they shape our trading decisions. And this cycle either traps you or you can start taking charge of your self-talk. You can retrain your mind to make empowering and encouraging mind chatter for you. And I'm not talking about positive thinking. I'm talking about realistic thinking, where you say, these are the areas where I can work on and improve. And these are the areas where I suck at, where, really, really need to limit and diminish those mistakes. And how do I do that? Well, with the improvement, what are my strengths at the same time, right? So the step number 4 is then to really deliberately listen to your thoughts. Write them down, acknowledge them, and validate them. So don't just push aside when you feel annoyed or frustrated at having had a loss. Just really acknowledge it. I notice that I'm feeling really frustrated for having had that loss. I notice that I'm feeling so disappointed. I could have had this amazing profit. I could have done so many amazing things. Um, so really write them down. I know it's quite involved, but I promise you it will all be worth it. So this way you can start again creating a distance between your thoughts and you, because your thoughts are not you, right? So start distinguishing between fantasy and reality. Just because you messed up doesn't mean that you will never make it. It only will mean that you will never make it if you don't keep learning and improving and figuring out what caused that behavior. But just the fact that you're listening to this video means that you are not that kind of trader, that you are willing to learn and to evolve and to grow. And now you can look at it from this point of view. Well, thank you, universe, for this painful experience, because I am determined to make this the best experience that happened to me, because I will grow and evolve from it. It's a choice, right? Then practice the power of the pause. It will not be easy at the beginning, but you will get better and better and better at it. Every time a fearful, disempowering thought comes up, take a minute and just really focus on the thought, completely focus on the thought. So if you think I'm such an idiot, just really focus on the thought and breathe into the thought before you react to, jumping into a trade or something. And there's a neuroscientist, Jill Bolte Taylor. I really like her work, and she found that emotional reactions naturally lose their intensity during about 90 seconds. So if you can hold on for 90 seconds before you jump into a trade, you will have learned to manage any impulsive behavior. and you will make it, right? It's just, again, practice and skill. Tony Robbins calls it a pattern interrupt. Now, many traders talk about walking up, getting up, walking away from the screen. I'm not a big fan of it because to me that's an avoidance. I want to learn how to deal with my emotions in the moment, and so that I can learn to dissolve impulsive behavior and not just run away from it, which to me, getting up and walking away is just running away and not dealing with the situation. So, but that's just me. Now, in the next step, step 6, well, now we start training our inner voice. Because again, if you don't train your inner voice, your mind will be like an unruly dog and it's going to create havoc. And I have this photo of Linda Rushke and her 2 dogs, market wizard Linda Rushke. She has her sheepdog on the left-hand side, Zoe, and then she has a little crazy dog on the right-hand side, which is a rescue dog. And he had a lot of trauma. He was abandoned in the garden and someone rescued him. And he's just completely nuts, this dog. Little Russell something cross. Now, Zoe went to doggy school and Zoe listens, right? Zoe does what she is being told, and that's how we want our mind to be. For most traders, the mind is like little domino, and I'm going to put a photo underneath. I don't have it here now. Who is a crazy dog who runs around, doesn't listen. If you let him off the leash, he would run across the street and cause accidents, right? So that's the mind that most traders have. And now take your mind to puppy school, right? Ask yourself, is this really true? Is this actually what is happening right now? How can I get my thoughts, my monkeys off the merry-go-round? Focus on present reality that activates and helps you to think clearer. Now, step 7 is what we call embodied cognition, right? Or these big words. It's radical acceptance in my favorite language. So it is not the fear of failure. It is not the fear of making losses or losing on trades. It is the resistance to that fear that is keeping us stuck. So what that means is fearing something feels bad, especially when we make bad decisions on the back of it. And then we resist that fear. We think we have to eliminate the fear, but it's not the fear that you have to eliminate. You have to eliminate you have to change your relationship with that fear so that you get to the point that you can have a fear of entering the trade or a fear of taking a loss or fear of getting out of a profit because what if it continues without you? And you still do what needs to be done, right? There's nothing wrong with the fear. It's completely normal. It will never change. I have traders who trade for 20, 30 years who make millions of dollars a year. They still have the same thoughts, but they don't let the thoughts rule their behavior, right? So, and then step number 8, it's the gateway to the present moment. Because when our mind is in fear, it either is recreating past experiences because it was an experience from the past, or it's fearing the future. Mostly it's both, right? So I don't want to have this to deal with the consequence in the future. Like, having chosen the wrong meal and having to sit there eating something that I don't like while other people have my favorite food. You will notice that people who can't make up their mind, they order what other people order. Interesting, right? So you want to learn to be really present in the here and now, the power of now, as Eckhart Tolle would call it. Yeah, so now let's give you some practical exercises as well to the mind transformation of your mindset. Go back to basics. Start trading with the smallest position size you can that your broker allows you to trade, even if it's 10 cents per tick, it doesn't matter until you have conquered hesitation. May it be conquering to get into the trade, may it be conquering taking your losses or taking your profits. It doesn't matter. But you need to get back into the groove again, finding self-trust and also trust in your strategy. Now, talking about trust in your strategy, what I found is that most traders, they haven't done any work on what are the statistical strengths and weaknesses of your strategy, right? They don't know when does the strategy work, when does it not work, what is your profit factor in different markets, what is your strength, are you a better reversal pattern trader, a better continuation pattern trader, what is your biggest typical mistake that you make, right? I know for me, what I've got caught in a lot was when the market was going down. I was like, really happy. And then there would be a really sharp V reversal. That would always get me. So I practiced V reversals like a world champion, or, knowing the difference between a reversal and a retracement pattern, practice them like a world champion. So that is helping me to gain trust in myself and also in my strategy, right? So that's just a few examples. There's so much more that can be done in terms of gaining trust in your strategy. Now, the third exercise is, of course, create what if scenarios. How do you deal with your trade if it doesn't work out? The main game is protecting your trading capital, right? That's like your goose that lays golden eggs. Protect it with your life. And so when you have what if scenarios on how you protect your capital, how you protect your mental and emotional capital as well, right? So, for example, I never try to, it doesn't of course work like that always, try to let my trade run into a loss, because I know it's not the best setup for my mental emotional capital. It really could trigger me to do something stupid on the back of it. Until I have mastered that trigger and resolved and healed that trigger, I'm going to be careful, right? So of course, my goal is to get out at an exit where I take really good profit, but life gets in the way and sometimes it doesn't work. The biggest irony is that traders think they have to think more and that will solve their problems, but it's not. The problems are caused by thinking. More thinking is not going to solve them. It's really going in and doing thorough assessments. So use your overthinking to assess your thoughts, to write them down. Use your overthinking to assess your strategy and gain really good clarity on how it works and it doesn't work, right? So that is going to start helping you to deal with these challenges of hesitation, and will help you to rewire your mental habits and transform your trading mindset. It's a never-ending journey, right? So I work with incredibly experienced and successful traders, and they still work on themselves. Partly also because they love it, that's also the case. So yeah, I hope you will take the choice and get out of the trap of overthinking and step into a new level of self-confidence and yeah, trading success. Thank you for being here. I wish you all the best, and the next video will come soon. Bye.